Here again. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you doing today?
Good. It's morning, 10 o'clock here. I don't know the time there.
Yes, afternoon. It's almost 3 p.m. here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Okay. What's the topic? Or you just...
I thought I was going to be on someone else's channel. Yeah, but I got the day wrong. And so I was just waiting and she wasn't responding. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I got the date wrong. And so I said, well, let me just come on over and just open up the floor again and just see what comes of it. If nothing, we'll just go back to our lives.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, I can ask you a few questions then. What do you think? Because we was talking about the dating scene. So what is the mental from the African-American woman compared to the African women over there? What I mean by the mental, the thinking process of the world, because I know for me, it seemed like the African-American women here are so guarded. You have to be, like I say, protected and so guarded. It's hard to trust. And I understand why, because a lot of women being taken advantage of. So what is the mental far as the African women over there? Are they more relaxed, uptight? Because the stigma, African American women, they angry all the time and real quick to snap. So what is the difference and why do people have this? I would say kind of a stereotype.
Yeah, the stereotype might have some legitimacy in it, just due to the simple fact that many African American women are fairly guarded. Not all, because for the most part, it's like this. In the West, or in the U.S. in particular, we've for many years had an issue with kidnappings or people being raped or child molestations and things to that nature. So, and then let's not forget racism. So, and then also slavery, you know what I mean? And the stories of the grandmothers telling their young daughters, don't do this, so it carried on. So a lot of fear and defensiveness because she's in protective mode. So I think that is a part of generally a part of why the African-American woman is just so guarded naturally, So if you meet an African woman here, it depends on the location too, because there are some places here on the continent where there are grave injustices against women. So therefore, they're not as friendly or open. But if you go to places such as West Africa, which is and East Africa as well, let me make sure, and some parts of South Africa, the women are way more easygoing, just for the simple fact that they didn't have very strange occurrences in their family dynamic. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have people molesting them. And I'm not saying all, but they may have had a wholesome upbringing. The father and the mother was there. There was a lot of nurturing there. And they had colonial issues, especially through the educational system. But there's more trust because the family unit was just grafted to just be there for one another, with no penetration. We're talking about from the kingship all the way up to, the regular families. It's just a really tight knit. Everyone knows one another. You know what I mean? It's just, we're talking, you think down south is tight? We're talking like that times 1,000.
When you say down south, I don't know if everybody know what you mean by that, because I do.
When I say down south, you guys, I'm talking about down south in America, because that's another world. And you do have still some examples of family, very deep family connection there. As an example, South Carolina, Louisiana, it's a whole nother different world because they're kind of like living on the outskirts and stuff. So anyways, as far as the
everybody, you go down south, everybody waves, right? Everybody waves. They blow their horn at hello. Everybody's so nice.
You can pop up unexpectedly and still be warmly received, and stuff like that. So regarding this African woman, though, I can only speak from West African and East African. Those are my experiences, and a little bit of North while I was in Egypt. But one thing that I noticed about these African women is the thing that stands out the most by almost 99.9% is that they are extremely welcoming. they've been that way towards me. And I was almost looking for a problem. I think I encountered one strange problem here when I was trying to buy something one day from someone. I wanted to buy like some chopped up tomatoes and some onions. That was a side dish in one of the vendors' little meal, whatever. Mm-hmm. And her attitude was just, oh gosh, but I didn't let it affect me. But I remember Yoko was standing over. He was like, she's just mad and jealous. And that was the first time that I ever experienced like a whole, like, I don't want to sell to you because you're foreign, but I didn't let it turn my, how I felt about African women, because I had such a great experience of what they were truly like, right. Because it's like all family. So there is a very big difference, but it also depends on the geographical location. And I do give credit to the family dynamic of just the lineages, the consistency of maintaining the lineages and the familyhood of everyone. You know what I mean? And this is what actually helps us, when we come, because they're, some of the friends, some of the friends that I've met, like I did not expect women from here in Ghana to just contact me and just like say, hey, let's hang out. And just during the day, not at no club, but hi, I want to see you. Hi, me and my I want to meet you. And I'm just like, this is interesting. Okay. And we become like friends. Is
that because the way you was brought up here in America, the safeguard? I don't know. You got to be careful.
I knew so many people in the States because I was doing business, but because I was single, I wasn't invited. I felt as though I wasn't invited because I was single, which is understandable because most women like, I don't want no single woman around my man. I get it. Right. Here, I'm invited to all the parties. They don't care. Right. They're like, I like you. Come hang out. They're not secure in that way. You see what I'm saying? So it's just a ton of confidence within the African woman because of that nurture, which I appreciate. I love to observe it. Even the children, the children, the young girls, these children have to work very young, not like full-time job, but they have to help the family. Right. The mother may be growing onions, bell peppers, and tomatoes out back. And if it's a Saturday morning, it might be even 5 or 6 a.m. before school. She's going to put the little veggies on there. The little girl will walk around with the veggies on her head, and she'll come here at 6 a.m. That's so confident in entering into new environments. No fear of a man snatching her or hurting her. Now they have some things in the past that have happened when foreigners come. You know what I mean? There have been a history of strange things that occurred when foreigners arrived. You know what I mean? When it came to that. But once they acknowledge that there's a problem or a threat, they go and they nip that in the bud, especially within these ancient kingdoms. Okay. So it's just really interesting to see the confidence level that is instilled within the young girls because it's traditional. No,
I'm sorry. What I find interesting is that I remember like 7, maybe 10 years ago, one of my good friends, his name was Jock, and he comes from Cameroon. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, he kept on trying to like get close. And the stereotype of all these Africans, man, I'm not dealing. And he ended up becoming one of my best of friends, right, here in America. And he used to take me to all the African spots here. And I had no idea they had African restaurants here and all. I'm like, I'm eating fufu. And I'm like, what the hell is fufu? I got to eat with my hands. Like, man, what you eat with my hands? So, but what I found out what it did, it reminded me as a little child, it brought you closer. It was more family oriented. And I realized here in America, you can live in an apartment building. It could be 10 units on one floor, and you may only know the person that's across from you. Everybody don't know each other on the same floor, right? And as coming up in America, we say it's a village, and it's really no village because nobody really knows each other. So let me ask you this: like in your neighborhood when you stay out in Ghana, is it a family oriented where people know each other? Do they all come together at times or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone speaks. Everyone you don't pass by a person and not speak. You just don't do the elders and all. So you may not know a person by their name across the road, down the way or this or that. But if you encounter them, you speak, but the immediate neighborhoods, for the most part, people do know. I mean, and then you know how they know? I mean, how I knew, like they know, like the parents and stuff know, is because of the children. Because it just became like a couple of children like knew about me or whatever. And then it just started growing. Like it just started expanding.
Right.
So if the children know about my name, that means that the adults are aware too. So if they see me, people will say my name and I have never even met them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So there's conversations of there's someone new in our neighborhood. When I first arrived, I got greeted by so many people that I still don't know who they are to this day. They just kept flooding in and out. So they're aware of you. When you're born, you get acknowledgement from the community. You get a divination. They have a whole party on the 7th day for the child that is born. Grown men will sit there for hours welcoming that child.
Wow, that's beautiful.
The woman dresses up very beautifully, sits with her baby, and people just come in and out all day, welcoming the child on the 7th day. That's when the child they call it a naming ceremony. So the child is named.
We call it what we call it here, when the child be born, we all have a little party. What we call that?
The baby shower.
Baby shower. Baby shower. Right.
Before it's born. Yeah, they don't do none of these things until after the child is born to confirm, so that they could do readings and all that stuff. But you're correct on that. But the level of defensiveness is not here. Even within the men, they're not uptight or aggressive towards one another unless they do something on the road and they start bucking up, because I've seen it. It always happens. It seems to always and only happen on the road. Right. No, because it's just interesting things that happen on the road. But ultimately, you'll see men holding hands. Typically they're like cousins or best friends, or they've known each other since childhood. Absolutely. Grown men will hold hands. It will not be gay here. Because they don't promote homosexuality. They're not gay. They're very intimate like that. Women will be holding hands. Very, very close society up here in the north. And I'm not really sure they do it down south, but you'll still see like even young kids. Yes, it is true. Like they'll hold each other's shoulder, like they'll walk with each other when they're walking. With that like they're very tight. A group of boys will just be together.
Right.
And
I remember that closeness here, not holding hands. We didn't, we didn't do the holding hands thing because, you hold hands here, then you got a problem. Let me ask you this right here.
Excuse me.
I grew up in an area where there was a lot of gunplay. You understand? And if you walk to a certain neighborhood, and I'm sure they got tribal warfares and things throughout the world, but even if you go to a club here in America, you brothers can't bump each other on the shoulder. Don't step on my shoe. You remember Debo, you got to tuck your chain in because here come Debo. That type of atmosphere, if a group of guys coming down, what you looking at? You know what I mean? Do you have that atmosphere even amongst the younger community? Because I used to tell my children, I still do, because I want them to go so bad. They had these all white parties in Africa. And I was like, you know what? They get down just like everybody else. Watch these videos. You got to come. They party. And they listen to a lot of the same music that you're listening to.
Same music. I'm telling you. Situation. But as far as the wild, wild west behavior, that's what I like to call it, the wild, wild west, because that is the culture that we were raised in, was the wild, wild west. They used to gunsling. That is one of the foundations of the West Coast. You know what I mean? From Texas all the way going southwest, excuse me. And so it's just interesting to think back on that. Like we were raised in cultures of killing one another, and that just, and it happens here depending on what's happening. Usually when they're slinging guns, it's over some land, it's over cattle. It might be something touchy with regards to the chieftaincies or something like that, but not here. I'm talking about just in Africa in general. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I see here in the West that they've attempted to resolve these things, unless it's, I don't want to get into this, but dealing with like Fulani maybe entering into lands that they don't want them to enter into. You see what I'm saying? But people are fighting really hard to get rid of this whole tribalism thing, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But the aggression at the club and stuff like that, I have not seen anything like that at all. I've been to events and seeing men just enjoying themselves, smiling and dancing, and with their families. It's more family oriented. It's not an aggressive culture. Mm-mm.
Right. So for African American to come, we should do more to adapt instead of try to bring that so-called culture there, because like I said, the Wild Wild West, they actually made a song, the Wild Wild West. Well, you probably too young to remember that.
Well,
you remember that song?
The intro of my videos, that's what I was basing. Like, this is me, but I'm still in Africa. I come from the Wild Wild West. Like, I'll still shoot you down too. Don't get it twisted. But at the same time, it's being refined. All that aggression is with day by day. I just keep working on it. And I know I'm aware of what's within me. I'm not ashamed of that. People try to hurt me and say, "Oh, she needs healing and this and that." And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
No, you don't.
I am so okay with that, regardless.
And you said something that we was trained that way, because when I grew up, I couldn't understand. Because remember, I said in your video earlier, I kept to myself. Guys will fight over street corners that don't belong to them. You fighting over bricks and buildings that you don't own, and I'm like, wow, you coming to my neighborhood. You don't own the building there. You don't own the lights there. You don't own the streets. And so like you say, when they fight over there, it's something they actually own, So I think that's important. Yeah.
Is a good point that you're making there. So it goes into the difficulties of what I'm going to just say it, it's my opinion, is the psychosis, that we've been struggling with, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, because that's the reference point, that I think has really messed us up through time. And they've just played us against one another, and they divided us, in such a powerful way. And so now I feel as though to come to these places, to come into these environments and strip all of that off, then you're able to rediscover yourself,
Right.
And so you said something again, should an African American come here and kind of like, instead of trying to pour all of your stuff, into, this, why not you sit down somewhere and just like chill a minute and then, like kind of find yourself. And so that is something that I recommend, take the time for yourself first. Let them heal you, let the environment, the people heal you, because that's what they're going to do by their kindness. It depends on the environments you enter into. If you go to the cities, you're going to get city behavior, but if you go to the villages, which people don't like to, they don't like to deal with those realities of what's in those villages, which they're holding ancient things, and that's why I be quietly sitting here. I wouldn't be here this long if it wasn't benefiting me, and what I'm doing is benefiting others as well, Right. So I'm not necessarily pro come and just invest. And, if you're a business person, I get that. But if you're someone who's, a bit more spiritually in tune and stuff like that, I say take that route. We're going to that self-discovery thing, because there's going to be a wealth of inheritances that are going to start flooding your way, which I discovered within myself, which was unexpected, Here
go a question for you. I know I've been in a lot of different chat groups with people in different countries of Africa. I say, because I make my move, I want to really know what I'm doing. And I'm in tune with some brothers that's already there, and some people that's from Africa there. Here's the question I got to ask. Why is it true? First of all, let me say why. Is it true that when African Americans come to Africa, we got to invest? Why we always have to invest something, where I see other people come there, Caucasians, Asians, and when Asians invest, they invest in themselves, and that's it. And when Caucasians come, they could do any and everything. But when we come there, it's like we have to give or we have to invest. But when other people come here, nobody invests in our communities. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
So say that one more time. You're saying, why is it? Give me it one more time.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Like if I come there, they would, I think it's in Ghana or Tanzania, somewhere. If you build something, you get this or you get that, or you get quicker citizenship. Maybe if you build a school, or people always, okay, maybe it's the grapevine. I'm hearing wrong. It's like, why we got to invest something? People looking for us when we come there to invest. Is that true?
No, that's not true. No, everyone doesn't have to invest. You can come here and just straight live off your visas forever, or just like come here, rent, build a house, and just live, and then every other 6 months just go and be like, here's a little fine, I'm here with regards to your visas. No, there's people that have been living here for years, never invested in anything. They just live. It's like a vacation spot for them. No. I think what happened with the whole investment thing is that people started promoting, come to the continent and invest and do business and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. And I think that's what happened. And people just assumed that you had to invest, but that's not necessarily true. No. But if you have to make money, then of course that would be a possibility, like to have a brick and mortar business or whatever, you know what I mean? When it comes to living in the country, if you want to contribute to the country, if you want to become a citizen of the country, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Versus just actually still holding a passport to another country and then vacationing here, but you still live here. You see what I'm saying? So it really depends on the individual, but no one's forcing anyone to invest and do these things. You can get citizenship and residency a lot sooner if you say, hey, I've done this. They'll help, push it along if they know you're doing something, but they'll still push it along even if you're not doing anything. It just takes time, long time.
Right. I don't know, and I don't want to hold you. I don't want to take up your whole life. I don't know how other people feel. Like I said, I never went, but I know people that's been there, and I know Africans. What's strange to me is that I notice a lot of Africans come here, and I just bought me a brand new car, and the guy, he was here 30 years. I'm like, and he's like, I got to go back. I'm like, what you mean? And he thought the streets were gold, and he said he never worked so hard a day in his life. Since they come here, he said, man, they working the hell out of me here. You know what I'm saying? And when I get there, I'm really not looking for much, even though I'm used to having certain things. I just like that sea of blackness, if you know what I mean.
I'm there with you. Yes.
You know what I mean? So to see that for me. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, what I was saying was, some people are uncomfortable with that, but some of us are very comfortable with that, and so that's what you'll get here is a sea of blackness, and you're going to feel right at home because it's another, like, okay, just thinking back on my life, I was living in California, and so in certain areas that I would go be predominantly Caucasian or whatever, and so it would be a sea of Caucasians, and I wasn't always comfortable with that. It wasn't a super big problem, but I never really felt like at home. So, it was just kind of just a little bit of a disconnect. So when I transported to this environment where it's predominantly Black, and then you'll see Black businessmen having lunch and Black businesswomen having lunch and women with their children, or a man holding his baby with the stroke, all like you put that Caucasian experience and put Blackness on it. It's like,
right.
Like it's just
unreal.
When I first came, it was like overwhelming. I was like, I can't believe that I'm here. Like this actually exists, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere,
So why do you think they hide this from us?
Why do you think? I mean, come on, listen.
I mean, I know. I'm doing this for educational purposes because I'm going to show this video too. So
Well, I mean, I'll give it to you basically. Okay, when I visited Kumasi, I was able to learn more about many of the ancient.
Kumasi, is that in Ghana? Is that in Ghana?
This is here in Ghana, yes. Okay. And the Asante, of course, is a royal class of individuals that ruled, and they had gold, and they have lineages and all this stuff. So you'll see that active, in their ceremonies. And then here in the Dagbon, you'll see kingdoms that have been here for over 600 and 700 years intact. Shrine. Intact. You understand? There's still influences of colonialism, but they still held on to their ancestral medicines and their tools and things to that nature. When we return and we tap into those things, we begin to see who we truly are. You see, not just this African American, just a basic life. You'll tap into like, wow, we were actually magical people, like magical. And so someone that just brought up right here regarding they don't gunsling, but they will use their spiritual powers against one another. And that is some of the downfall of what happened, is that many people were using their spiritual abilities against one another. See, if you do that against your own family, it's going to come right back on you, unfortunately. So that's why, we don't promote that whole hurting each other and stuff like that. See, the shrines will seek justice on its own, but that's a conversation for another time. These ancient shrines communicated with the spiritual world. Our ancestors had the ability to fly. They had the ability to heal. They're still healing here. if you came here and I told you the stories of what has happened on this continent as far as spirituality and the magical Smurf-ish that I feel like I heard about, they'll never ever tell these stories there because they don't tell them to them. They'll never share this history because they do not share this history with them. You understand? Because they've damaged a lot. They've caused a lot of harm. But the stories and the history is intact, meaning that you can go to the Ebwe, you can go to the Asante, you can go to the Dagban, you can go to the Mosi, and they will all share the same stories.
Well, check this out.
Same histories.
You touched something. I can feel that. It's my spirit. I feel this spirit now because coming over here, being here, growing up here. We not taught about, only thing we know is slavery, and that's it. They don't tell us where we actually come from, and you have to do your research. Now, I don't want to get into religion, but I consider myself a Hebrew or Israelite, not the Israelites that you see, the screaming ones, you know what I mean? And I look, so you already know, because I heard one time you said you practiced that. Yeah. So, and that's a Hebrew name, Qanath is a Hebrew name. And I'm looking for the history of people still practicing them customs. I talked to some brothers over there, and they say they don't even have a Bible, but they practice these customs. So do you see any of that there?
Well, you will see things that was actually adopted from African traditions and then somehow translated into the Bible in some way. But where you're going to see probably more of what it is that you're looking for is maybe in Ethiopia and even in some parts of Nigeria. It just really depends. I would just travel to different places and just ask questions. Now, well, according to my research, the original translations were not as they appear today. So they've painted this picture of what life is supposed to be like and stories and fantasies. But if you go into the original translations, which was all developed right here, which they call Canaan, which was Kinon, because I used to study ancient Paleo Hebrew. It comes from It comes from right here in Africa. And so our ancient ancestors were the ones who were the keepers of that, of the painting of the blood in the sacrifices. This all comes from our families, and there was no taboo of these things. There was an understanding. So anyways, you'll find it, but not quite like how they've shaped it in the English translations of the Bible. What would I say to that? Yeah, it would just take exploration, but you're definitely going to find a lot of people who share these similar ideas that you have. And then also Ethiopia would be a good place because they're the ones who held it for so long, the Christian doctrine. But to me, still, if it's translated according to these stories, I always have a little bit of a problem with that, because I know for a fact if we go into the ancient ideas, it's more conceptual. It has to do with expansion of the individual, the mathematics of the individual. This was something that was already within us. Didn't need a book, So what they're doing is they're trying to hold us, because you just said, I noticed that they always want to just teach us slavery. Like that's our root. Well, they want to keep us capped consciously right there, so we don't expand out of that. So we don't have any other opportunities or any possibilities, so that we don't dream outside of that. They want to keep us stuck right there. That's why they keep replaying these old slavery movies and all. They want to keep that right there. They need us right there, so that we don't look further back. Like, wait a minute, these people were wealthy.
Right. I look at it when you went to Egypt. When you went to Egypt, and the way the people was looking at you, it was like she's returned. I don't know if you got that feeling, but I could see it through the screen.
They did do that. They did that to my brother too. That was interesting. That was an interesting experience. I would have to go again. I think what kind of blemished it a bit for me is just the extreme presence of Islam. It's not a problem.
Right.
It's just, they will even tell you to themselves, welcome back to the land of your ancestors. And that, it would hurt me. Like, I'm like, damn, they know more history than we do.
Right.
But also the ancient, Kemetic people, the Assyrians, they actually prophesied and knew that they were going to have to disperse, but they were going to maintain their bloodlines quietly. So I do believe that we are those children. We reawaken through the bloodlines, and that's why we are the way that we are, why we do what we do, why we speak like how we speak. We speak with medicine. We're here to, no matter what we've gone through, no matter what chaos or anything, we're still holding very powerful medicine within, to help.
I look at my grandmother and before she passed, Most High bless her soul, they was actually keeping customs through my research, I believe, unawares. You understand? Unawares.
I do believe they are the original custom keepers. They didn't have books. You see what I'm saying? Like they're the ones who grafted tradition. And now the Bible in English will say not the traditions of men and this and that. That's European play on trying to belittle the thing that the African or the indigenous man had naturally, especially when it came to nature, understanding nature and the animal spirit and the spirit realm. That is something that is not taught, within these books, though. The spiritual realm, which our ancestors were so in tune with. You see what I'm saying? And so it's just a very beautiful journey when we return here. And that's why you can kind of tell, like, the influence of some ideas that come when people try to tarnish a country. They try to, like, blind us, like, oh, it's sewage here, and there's this, and there's scamming, and it attempts to take away from what's really here.
I believe that they're afraid. They know one thing about us African Americans, we got a very powerful get up and go. You know what I mean? A get up and go, meaning that once we see something, we're going to try to make it happen, And they know if we start to migrate over there, shit going to change. I was talking to the African brother from Nigeria, and we was talking about the Bible. And I said, yeah, man, the Old Testament. He said, no, stop. I said, what? He said, stop saying old. He said, we still do. Right. We still do these things. It's not old. We still do these things, but customs outside the Bible, things and traditions that they kept, So I just find it intriguing, and I can't wait for it. I love the dress. I'm so tired of seeing the bonnets and the pants off the behind and the, certain things. Don't get me wrong. America has a lot of things to offer. I'm not beating down America, even though I say sometimes the United Snakes of America. I live here, so I'm not going to beat it down all the way. But I think there's so much that we can grow in our short lifetime. Time is like goes so fast, goes so fast.
Yeah, and why not spend at least a portion of that, in self-discovery mode? I mean, all of these questions that we have about our origins, I believe it's here. It's all around the world, but you'll find a chunk of it here, especially for the so-called African Americans or those from the Caribbeans, or even in Europe. It's just a lot of spiritual information here for us, because I believe we are a spiritual people. Once you attack it that way, things are just going to start opening up.
Last difficult question. Okay. I see a lot of people, I say cultural vultures, right? Cultural vultures, where people, you already know how people are still the Bo Derek with the hair still in the locks, and people stealing our music with rap and so on and so forth. And I notice a lot of people that came from slavery from the west coast of Africa all down in South America dealing with the cooking and everything. Then other people turn around and say, this is our culture, with the samba, the bumba, and all this type of stuff that's in South America dealing with Hispanics, right, or Spaniards, right? And now these people are saying this is their culture. So I see a lot of people that's Hispanic saying that this is their culture. And I'm like, no, this is not your culture, the way you dance and things like that. So do you see Hispanics in Africa practicing these cultures?
Do I see Hispanics in Africa practicing
the cultures, like the things that you see now today? Because over here where I'm at, they trying to say that they taught us these things. And I'm like, no, this is not true.
They taught us what? What did they
do? The music, it could be from the music. They are the original people that's on the walls in Egypt. And I was like, no, that's why I showed you a video. I was like, do y'all see these pictures up there with these people, these afros? And you're not the people on these walls.
Let me tell you something. Them ancient tombs and stuff, I didn't film all that. They was black. That's why I was overwhelmed.
Say that again. They were what? Say that again.
Blacker than black. Okay. Copper color, light brown, dark brown. It was just, all kinds of hues, but them ancient ones, they're very dark brown people. And so they keep a lot of them closed from the public. And so I was, of course, I would befriend people, say, hey, come see this one, and they'd just be so happy, and it'd just be dusty and not open to the public on purpose.
Right. And it made me cry, because this is what I was trying to teach. I'm like, no. This is our people somewhat, you know what I mean? Because all African people are not the same. We know that too.
I think that there's just a lot of propaganda coming from various races of people, at the end of the day. But one thing is for sure is that many of the songs coming out of West Africa and other places, I only know this as a fact, coming out of West Africa, some of the ancient songs that people from Sierra Leone, Mali, wherever they were transported to, on the islands like Cuba and Brazil or whatever, they still sing those same songs, So many of those cultures, those African cultures, just migrated were enslaved and put on those coasts, and they still hold a lot of those traditions. Now, to say that they're the origin of it, I highly doubt those people would say that, especially if they come in from those spiritual systems, from Cuba and Puerto Rico and stuff like that. I have not witnessed any of them ever claiming to be the origins. They would say they're an extension of it, and they would be proud of that. But as far as where are you at? Are you on the West Coast, East Coast?
I'm on the East Coast. So it's more,
That's pride speaking. There's no
right.
I mean, that's denial. That's just denial. No, let's be honest. We're an extension of Mama Africa. Accept it.
Exactly. So I read the comment, boy. I'll let you go. For all them the ladies that were saying I look so handsome, and this and that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they was loving on you. You came and brought it, though. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I hope you come on my program one day. Most I bless you, and continue.
You have a channel?
Yes, I do.
All right. Okay,
All right. I'll check you out later.
Thank you.
Thank you.